Hello, you have been so patient in waiting for this video, and I am going to split it into two halves because I just feel like it's going to be a really long one otherwise. And to be honest, I don't know where to even start or begin, but this is going to be my birth story, and it's taken a long time for me to sort of get round to doing it because, number one, for a long time I've not been able to speak about it without crying. I had a lot of trauma. Just a spoiler, guys, the birth did not go to plan, and it did not, I don't want to say it didn't end well, because it ended with me having gorgeous Olive and everything is safe and sound. However, yeah, it wasn't what I had hoped for or even thought could possibly happen. So I'm just splitting this in half. Oh, and number two, oh, see, I'm forgetting already. Number two, like, there were massive holes in my journey, like in my birth story, because I was so traumatized and like blacked out for some of it that I just didn't. It'd be interesting to know if any of you guys felt the same way, because there was just massive gaps where I was like, I do not remember this happening. I have no recollection of this, that and the other. And that's why I've got Jasmine coming tonight, and she's going to do the second half of the birth story, the bit where it actually like fully kicked off, because she was one of my birthing partners. Obviously I had Sean there, but Sean, I don't know if anyone can relate to this. My husband is wonderful, he's loving, he's caring, very calm, but he is so laid back, he is almost horizontal. And in a flight or flight, sorry, he sort of forgets my, like, I was worried that he'd forget my wishes. I was going to share my birth plan with you, but to be honest with you, it's so comical now. Now I look back and how my birth went, I was just like, no, it actually upsets me to realise that I basically got nothing that I planned for. And I just, I'm sharing this really not to traumatise anybody, but just to sort of say that even if it doesn't go to plan, you know, either way, the result is a beautiful baby. However, it is okay to be disappointed and upset and to have the feelings that I have and I will speak about in this video. It is completely valid to feel that way. So without further ado, I will get on and I will do it to the best of my ability, because again, it was a long labour. It was a long one, guys, and also, like I say, there are still some holes in things, so I'm sorry if I fumble over like specific dates and times and stuff like that, but I'm gonna do my best. Get comfortable, guys, get yourself a cup of tea. I should have got myself one because my voice is like wavering. Anyway, I think I'm gonna be able to get through this part without crying. It's the second part when Jasmine's here that I might shed a tear. However, I'm trying to remember what day this started on. I've gone on my contraction app. I think it was, I want to say it was, basically, the reason I think my birth didn't go to plan and ended a C-section and intervention and all sorts, I was 39 weeks and like 6 days. And basically, because I had gestational diabetes, I'm an older mum, I'm 36, that's classed as like geriatric. I've got a high BMI, I was classed as high risk, so I very much wanted a very natural birth. I would like water if I could. I wanted as little intervention as humanly possible. I really thought, because baby, even though I had all of these factors that were sort of considering me high risk, baby was absolutely thriving. Lots of movement, I've been healthy the whole way through. She was head down from like week 28. Like, she was a little sweetheart. She was in the perfect birthing position. She never changed her position up until the very end. And yeah, everything was great. Her heartbeat was great. We never had any issues. So I was just like, I'm gonna get what I want. My birth plan was get in the water. I knew that I probably wouldn't be able to birth her in the water because, again, BMI is a factor. But I wanted gas and air. I am the sort of person, well, I am the person, I've never had an operation in my life, guys. I am terrified, just to clarify, of hospitals. I think they call it like white coat syndrome. It was something that was mentioned to me by my midwife. I hate needles. I hate anyone touching my spine. So for me, the epidural was a big fat no. And you asked Jasmine, like you asked Jasmine, like you're gonna see her, but I'll speak with Jasmine later. We would sit on lunch at work and I'd be like, I am never getting an epidural, not on your Nelly. I don't care if I scream for it, don't let me get it. Because I was like, I'm telling you now, like I thought I had a really good pain threshold, which I do, and I'll show you how I do, because boy, I really did go through it. But it turns out exhaustion for me, hunger and pain mixed together, was just too much of a mental strain, and we caved. But basically 3 days before I gave birth, I had contractions. This is how it started. My doctor, my consultant was like, they wanted to induce me exactly on my due date. Now call me a bit of a hippie, but I'm just like, I'm very relaxed with these sorts of things, and I was like, look, I've had no lack of movement. I would like to go up to my due date and at least have a few days over. Like, I don't see what the problem is here. There's been no history of anything. I'm not feeling like she's lacking me. I was one of these people, I was like, I'm not actually fed up of her. You know, some women are like, get this baby out of me. I wasn't like that. I was like, I'm really still I mean, I was big and I was in a lot of pain. I had a lot of pelvic pain at the front, sciatica and all that, but at the same time I wasn't swollen. Didn't have any sort of what's it called, oh god, I can't even remember. They kept testing me for it because I had high blood pressure. You'll know exactly what it is, and I'll know what it is when I'm editing this. But basically they wanted to induce me. They wanted me to have her early, and the reason I didn't want induction, rightly or wrongly, whether my research is correct, but I've always thought that when you intervene and try and start things like artificially before they're supposed to, it usually ends in C-section. And I was petrified. I feel like C-section, we can all laugh about this at the end, was my biggest fear and my worst possible outcome. I was like, if I have to have a C-section, I'm just gonna jump like off that bed and run away. Like, I'm not doing it. Because I'd never had an operation, terrified of anything. I'd never had a cannula, never had a catheter. All of those things terrified me. I just about got over the blood test thing. Anyway, let's rewind. So I went out for dinner with Sean and Jasmine after work one night, was sitting in the restaurant, and I was like, oh, what is that? It felt like trapped wind that would not release, but it was like rolling from like my lower back up to the front, and then normally with trapped wind you get a gripe, don't you, and then it just disappears. No, this just went on and on and on, and I was like, what is this? Now I thought contractions, and I didn't think it was contractions for this reason. I thought contractions were like a squeezing at the top of your belly. That's what I thought it would be, like a whoosh, we're gonna get this baby out, push from the top down to the bottom. I was very confused what this was, but I was obviously like, this is a contraction clearly. Anyway, they were very like once every half an hour, but when they did come, they did take my breath. I had to sit there, and I remember digging my nails into the wooden table, and Jasmine's like, you've left a mark. And I was like, can't help it. I was like, these are horrible, what is this? Anyway, went home. That's when I started recording. And that night, they were, I'm looking now, they were half an hour apart. However, when you're trying to sleep, and every half an hour you're getting woken up by these contractions, I'm assuming they were contractions. I'm not even going to say I'm assuming they were, but they're very mild at this point. Anyway, the next day comes, and in the day they would ease off. It was only really the evening that they would kick in. Now my midwife told me that was something to do with oxytocin and all that jazz. So I rung up that day, and I was like, this is happening to me, and they basically said, come in, we will see where your cervix at. Went in, I wasn't even 1 centimetre. I was convinced they were going to be like, oh gosh, let's get this baby here, you're 5 centimetres. She was like, no, I can't even do a sweep on you, there's nothing. And I was like, brilliant. But after she did that, I went to the toilet at the hospital for a wee, and my plug came out. I was like, oh my god. And it, just for reference guys, it's like a fisheye. It's so thick and gelatinous. I was like, oh god. And I was so shocked, I actually took it in like one of those little paper pots, and I went to the lady that did my sweep, did my investigation. And I was like, this fell out, what is this? And she was like, it's your plug. So I was like, brilliant. So by letting someone investigate, that had happened, and I was a bit fuming because I was like, brilliant. I've basically been induced inside. That's how I felt. Anyway, went home. She was like, there's nothing we can really do unless you want to come in. And I was like, no, I don't want induction. Bye-bye. Left, went to Pizza Express, sat in Pizza, I think there's a theme here, dinner's out, the baby kicks off when she eats. Pizza Express, sat there again in agony. It started again and I was like, oh no. And I said to Sean, I was like, can I sit the opposite way so people can't see my face? Because I was like this, what, in between my garlic dough balls. And he basically got angry with me as we walked to the car. He was like, you should be at home, you shouldn't be out having dinner. Because I basically was like, I'm going for something to eat. And he was like, we shouldn't really go out when you're having contractions, Div. But alas, I got my own way. Anyway, basically that night they got really bad. And again, I hadn't had sleep the night before really. It was all like half an hour, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but they weren't like consistent. And then that night it was bad. So it was literally every 10 minutes. It was awful. So I rang the midwife, the maternity ward, and I said, look, what do I do? And she said, if you come in, we can see where you are, we'll do a sweep, blah, blah, blah. So I went in, she was like, you're 1 centimetre. I was like, this was like really, this was early on. I was like, are you joking me? I was like, can you not give me anything for the pain? She was like, no. She was like, go home. At this point, she was like, I can do a sweep. So she did a sweep. Didn't hurt, but caused a lot of bleeding. And then I went home and she was like, get in the bath, take paracetamol. So I did that. I lay in the bath that night in agony. And I've got a freestanding bath, so you can't really run the hot tap. Well, I could have, but it would have probably burnt my bump. And I was really worried about baby. So I was literally lying there, shivering, in pain. But the water did take away the pain of the contractions. So I was lying there and I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I got back into bed and like the contractions were so painful. I remember thumping the headboard, and by this point Sean was like, if we go to hospital again, he said, we're not coming back home, because bless him, he was so tired as well. Like we were both shattered because I was getting no sleep every 10 minutes all night. This was about 4 o'clock, no, 3:30. I remember, because then he was like, right, we're going to the hospital. And in the car, Sean's got quite a low Volvo, and every pothole, bump in the road, I was screaming. I was like, Pow! I remember at one point going, stop the car. Poor guy was driving like 30 miles an hour the whole way, and I was just in agony. Like every bump just made the contraction worse. Anyway, so we got into the hospital and she was like, you're 2 centimetres, and I just burst into tears. I was like, you have to be joking. I was convinced, because some of my contractions as well were like, I had one that was like 3 minutes long, one that was 5 minutes long, 5 minutes 24 I think it was, where is it, 3 minutes 20, and I'd put intense next to it, like that you could put little markers. Where's the one that was 5 minutes? It was 5 minutes and 39, awful, at 4:26. Oh my goodness. Anyway, Jasmine's here, so we'll be filming the video in a minute. Basically, I got into the hospital and they were like, you're 2 centimetres. And then I said, right, I said, I just need your help. Please help me. I need some pain relief. They offered me this injection in my leg to help me sleep. I don't even remember what it was, which is terrible really. And I said, yes. At this point, I was just like, I cannot go back home because I can't sleep. Paracetamol's doing nothing. And then, like I said, this had been relentless for like 2 full days and 2 full nights. So they gave me this injection. Well, no, we walked down to this ward, the labour ward, and as I was walking down the corridor, I threw up. And I think it was just so much pain that I was in. I've never threw up because of pain. You see it in movies, don't you? But I was like, oh my God, I was so embarrassed. And she was like, don't worry, it's fine. They were really nice about it. And then they took me to this room that me and Sean could sleep in. It was a private side room. However, it was a room with broken heating. So obviously in maternity wards, they all run off one system, like a warm air because the babies and stuff. But this room obviously was broken, hence why it was free. But they had all the windows open. And for February, it was quite a mild night. And this heater, I was like, we can't stay in here. And they're like, this is the only room. I was like, we're gonna die in here. It was like a sauna, which, ladies, you'll know if you're pregnant as well, on top of that. Oh, I was like burning up. I was like, this is awful. Anyway, she gave me this injection in my leg. She also gave me an anti-sickness one. And I can't even tell you. I don't know what it was. I need to go and get like my notes and unpack it all and stuff and find out what it was. It was like heaven. I just was like, boop, out like a light. Anyway, it was short-lived. I can get rid of my contraction thing now. It was short-lived because we then got a rude awakening. Sean stayed with me. He lay on like the little pull-out bed thing. And we just literally slept in. I was in like a sports bra and pants, and Sean was just literally topless. He was like, it's so hot in here. But I was just so grateful to get the sleep. I didn't care. And obviously this injection obviously worked its magic. Anyway, fell asleep, had a knock on the door from the midwife. I think it was 8:30 she came in. So really, I think we only got about 3.5, 4 hours sleep anyway. But I was just like, I was so groggy from this injection. I begged her, I said, can you just leave me please? I said, I need longer. And she went, no, we've got to get moving. Anyway, I hadn't progressed at all. She checked me and then she said, I think we need to break your waters. And again, there's a lot about this that I'm angry with myself, because I don't really know why I said yes to that. Because again, I didn't want intervention. And I think I was so drowsy and so tired and so exhausted that I was just like, And yeah, I let her break my waters, which I think was just a bad decision. But they were just really going on and on and on at me. This was so by this point this was Saturday. I think it was it Saturday morning or Sunday? You're gonna have to forgive me for my days, because I am lost on where we are. No, it was the Sunday, because she was born on the Monday morning. So this was Sunday morning, yeah. So yeah, basically she broke my waters, and then from that point I think I'm gonna have to get Jazz involved, because that's when it just got a bit crazy and a bit hazy. And she asked me if I wanted some breakfast, and I said yes, but they wouldn't let me have, like, because of my gestational diabetes, which I do need to do a video on because it's the weirdest thing. I had the Libra in, which is like a device that you just scan, and throughout my whole journey I never had a single problem. It was all diet led. I had a very weird result with my gestational diabetes, and I had a very weird journey with it. I don't think I was diabetic at all. I could have white carbs, no problem. I could have everything I wanted, no problem. But my test results were strange. So I'll make another video on that. I don't want to go into that too much, although it did very much shape my labour, I think, and the way they treat me and things like that. So she was like, you can't really have cereal. I was like, are you joking? Like, I can have what? Not being funny. Like, you can't tell me what I can and can't have. Anyway, I said, I had this toast and I was just like, it's not brown toast. It was, and I just went, can I have some Weetabix? Because in my head I was like, I'm going to give birth naturally, I'm going to be pushing a baby out, I need fuel, like, you're going to let me have what I want. And I just had 2 Weetabix. I wasn't even allowed sugar on them. She wouldn't even let me, and I was like, I'm fine with sugar, like, it doesn't peak. And they were trying to tell me what to do, and I was like, I've got the Libra in, you can test me, like, it's not a problem. But anyway, they were just really funny about it. I don't know why. Like I say, they're trying to look out for me, but obviously I was trying to tell them I've been diabetic for 3 months now. I've been monitoring it, like, everything's fine. Anyway, so I had that, and then I honestly can't remember much of what happened after that. Well, I can, but that's when Jazz arrived, I do believe. So I had my waters broke, and it is the weirdest feeling. It's like, because my sister-in-law said to me, it's like weeing in the sea. Like, it's just like this strangest feeling. where you're like aware of it but you're not, and you can't, like the ripples, you just feel like the ripples. It's weird, and you're not in control of like when that water comes out, because with every contraction just sort of starts pushing its way. So that was I went through 4 midwives in my they're all on like 12-hour shifts, aren't they? So yeah, I went through a lot of midwives. My labour, my active labour, was 21 hours and 8 minutes. However, I say it's longer than that because I'm like, I was suffering a long time before. So anyway, thanks for getting this far. That's the first part. So waters have been broken, Jasmine's been called, birth partner, get here now. Bless her, she's gonna fill us in on a lot more because she was actually coherent. Because I think shortly after this, the gas and air started. And I've never had gas and air before, but it was wild. Jasmine told me it was like I was drunk. So, and I would hasten to agree. So yeah, that was quite fun and funny. So I'm gonna go get Jazz now. I'm gonna do part 2, so make sure you come back for that. I have this really bad habit of just skipping between things and then thinking, oh, I forgot to say that. And one thing I do need to mention, as part of my natural like giving birth journey and the things I wanted, the one thing that I did do, and I really must give her a mention, her name's Lindsay, and I'll pop her company below in the like description. I did a hypnobirthing course, and I felt so prepared for this birth, which is why I was like, it's not going to end in C-section, it's going to be natural. Baby Olive was measured to be 8'10", and everyone was like, oh, that's a big baby. And I was like, I'm not scared of 8'10". 8'10's going to be fine. And yeah, she was not 8'10", spoiler alert. So I was just like talking to Lindsay, and I was like, oh gosh, am I going to be able to birth this naturally? It's my first one. And she was like, use the tools. And she was a fantastic support to me. And if I can recommend anything to spend your money on, it would be a hypnobirthing course. She is so wonderful, and she's always on hand to give me advice and just to talk to. And yeah, like I say, her course was amazing. She did gift me her course because she's been a follower of mine for ages, but she never asked me to mention it ever. She just was like, I just would really like to help you. So and obviously it was before she knew I had YouTube or anything like that. So I'm going to leave a link and everything to her, and I'd love it if you checked her out, even if you just gave her a follow on Instagram, because she's an amazing lady and her advice was invaluable. But I do feel like the hypnobirthing would have really come into play if they'd have let me in the birthing pool. That's one thing I need to mention. Before Jasmine got there, I did say to this midwife, can I get in the pool then? Like, I've done everything you want me to do. Now is it time to get in the pool? And she said no. They said you're in a high risk room. And that's another thing I'll say. High risk rooms are really, they're awful. I'm going to be honest with you. They're very stark. My husband went and got a tube light from another room that wasn't being used, because he was like, can she have some lights? And I really wanted it all dark and music playing and essential oil. I wanted the whole shebang of trying to like, and the reason I wanted that is because everyone's gone on about how, and in my hypnobirthing course, oxytocin is so important. The happy hormone is important in order to get things going and for things to you know, to happen naturally. And I just felt like that room was not giving me oxytocin vibes. It was clinical. So like I say, Sean did get like a nice coloured light for me and stuff. In fact, what good it did. But yeah, I was denied going in the birthing pool. I don't know why. I think just because I was fat. High risk. But yeah, they said no, which I found a bit weird, because my local midwife, when I asked about it, she was like, I see no reason why not, why you can't start off in the pool and then obviously to birth they'll need to move you. But I wasn't even given the option when I asked. It was a big fat no. So should probably just mention that as well. And I don't think there's anything else I need to fill you in on. Like I say, part 2 will follow, and thanks for getting this far. See you in the next one.